It is my pleasure to welcome you each today. We are very lucky to have Renee Rohrer from Truliant Federal Credit Union with us today to talk about the psychology of spending. She has provided us with a link that I'm going to drop in the chat. And I will turn it over to her and let her tell you all about it.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Welcome, everyone. I hope everyone is staying healthy during this time, and I'm glad to be with you today. Let's move on to the second slide. Hang on a second. Okay, little technical issue. All right, our presentation today, I'm going to talk for about, 40, 45 minutes, and it's going to be interactive. So I would encourage you to participate via chat or just sharing answers out loud would be fine as well. While you are not speaking, if you would do me a favor and put your audio on mute. That way we won't hear background noise. If you're like me, when I'm working from home, I have a dog and she likes to bark at everything outside. So I understand that. And as Kate mentioned, she did put a PDF into the chat. That is sort of a summary of what we're going to discuss today, but also importantly, I want you to focus on page 6 of that handout, which is a quiz or like an evaluation that you can do of your own spending that will help you today based on what you learn about. So you can do it after this program today, and then that will sort of help you see what kind of spender you are. All right, we'll go ahead and get started with the presentation. So today we are talking about the psychology of spending. And so we're going to answer these questions today while we're together. What are spending habits? What are your spending habits? Why do people spend money? And what is impulse buying or impulse spending? And honestly, the numbers are incredible right now. The country as a whole spends more than $6 trillion a year, which is about $21,000 a person on just stuff, right? Do you guys have stuff like laying around your house? Because I have stuff laying everywhere. I don't know where I got it. I might have picked it up at some festival before COVID. I don't know. I just have stuff everywhere. And, some of that is fed by spending and shopping. We actually have twice as many shopping malls in this country as we have schools, high schools in particular. And that is crazy when you think about it. But think about that. All the places that you can go and shop, strip malls, shopping malls, and how many high schools are near you. And as advertisers spend more than about $230 trillion a year trying to sell you stuff, stuff that you need, stuff that you want, stuff that just fills your house. So we're going to talk about some of these things today. All right, so to get started, I want you to think about one thing that you've purchased this week. And why did you buy it? You can drop these in the chat. You can speak, you can unmute yourself and speak. What's one thing that you bought this week and why?
I bought some new luncheon plates because I have a problem with being addicted to Fiestaware.
Oh, okay. Addiction to Fiestaware is a serious addiction that you're admitting that. No, yeah, so that's great. Anyone else want to share? What's one thing that you bought this week?
Yes.
Okay, everybody, what?
I bought red tennis shoes, but they were red.
Nice, okay.
I bought an axe.
You bought an axe?
Yeah.
Oh.
An axe. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes, I see that.
I just got into axe throwing. It's my new hobby.
Oh, congratulations. That is fun, I hear.
Fabulous way to reduce stress.
Oh, I should definitely try it out then.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
I see a hand. Indu, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Oh, yes. I was about to say that yesterday I bought some silverware that I didn't need it to. So when I brought it home, everybody was saying, what is this? And I said, oh, It's like, yeah, that wasn't really necessarily, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. Yes, so, we're constantly, not constantly, but we are buying things probably more frequently than we think if we sit down and we started to add up all the things that we've bought. I was telling Kate a little while ago, I ordered and technically bought lunch today, but then it didn't come. It was not delivered in time. So I called and canceled it, right? So we've all doing those things during the day. So think about that as we're moving through the presentation today and that recent purchase that you made and how, and think about some of the things we're going to talk about. So first, to get started, we're going to talk about the role of advertising. So, the purpose of advertising, if you don't already know, is to get us to buy something. And it can affect your consumer behavior, often unconsciously. So, common tactic that advertisers use is, to try to get you to purchase items is to appeal somehow to you. So yeah, they want, in this ad, they want you to buy a burger, but usually they're selling you something else as well. And you might not even be conscious of what that is. You can't really avoid advertising in the time that we live in right now, because if you're on social media or TV or radio or even, signage, right? Signs up on the corners or outside of the shopping areas or in the grocery store, within the grocery store, they're trying to sell you things. So it's hard to get away from it, but hopefully we'll learn a little bit about how we can deal with it and how it might impact our spending. So I talked about those emotional appeals. This is really the heart of the conversation today, is going to be around these emotional appeals, how advertising appeals to us, but then going into depth about each of these and how they impact our finances. So often advertisers rely on fear or an emotion to try to get you to purchase their product. As an example, you might see a TV commercial for cookies. And so when you see a TV commercial for cookies, what do you normally see in that commercial? What are some things that you normally see? I mean, do you ever see a commercial for cookies that includes like bears or, people that work out all the time? Like what types of things do you, those are not related, bears and people that work out, but what do you see in ads? I mean, normally we're looking at, when we see cookies and people baking cookies, it's a family or a grandma or a dog, right? And so it's trying to make you feel warm and fuzzy about getting some cookies and making a memory with your family.
And Nancy had some good insight. She said children and homey kitchens and a glass of milk.
Exactly, right. Okay, so she is getting the picture. What is implied beyond the purchase of that brand of cookies is that when you are baking cookies together and drinking milk together and dunking the cookies in, that you are creating this perfect, happy family. But we know, all of us that have made cookies before, that making cookies can be a very stressful event in your kitchen. So it's not always what it seems. And that's what we're going to spend time going into today. So here's some common ways that we're going to dive deeper into that advertisers use appeals, emotional appeals, or fear to really get into our pockets and get our funds, right? So emotional appeals to be healthy, to look our best, to be safe, to be recognized, a desire for recognition. And with that one, we'll go into more details, but recognition is about specific brands, right? Or wealth, or the right type of tennis shoe, building self-esteem. So there are items out there that people try to get at our self-esteem. To have a perfect, happy home, right? Think cleaning products. And then also to be loved, which is an interesting one, and we'll tackle that one towards the end of the presentation. All right, so advertising isn't bad. It's not all bad, right? So, before I joined Truliant 7 years ago, and I'm in charge of community engagement, which includes sponsorships and grants and financial education and all of that. But before that, I worked in marketing, right? So was the person, the people, the team trying to get you to buy something. And this was not necessarily at Truliant. These are in other roles. In fact, one of my most interesting jobs was at Old Salem, where I was the director of marketing for 8 years, trying to get people to come and purchase a ticket to Old Salem and not just walk around and go to the bakery, right? So advertising isn't all bad. A lot of times advertising gives us information about products that we may not have known, and it helps us compare products, one product to another. The challenge is to recognize when we're being sold something more than the product, right? And so that we can think clearly about what it is that we want to purchase. And as you get bombarded with ads throughout the day, think about what the advertiser is actually selling you and what you are going to gain from the product. And that's sort of a key takeaway today in how we are figuring out how we're spending our money and how we can change, if we need to make changes, to really be purposeful about what we're spending money on. All right, let's do an exercise. I have a couple of these lined up. So what is being sold here? Can everyone see this ad? Okay, so you can say out loud or you can say in the chat what they're actually selling us. What do they want us to buy? Anybody? Kate, what do we have in the chat?
Let's see, we have pistachios, a healthy lifestyle, and a good body.
All right, very good. So yeah, so the obvious one is pistachios, right? And they do that with the subtle green, which is color of pistachios, throughout the ads. You know, in general, if you were to line up the ads for these nuts, they're all going to be black and white with green, right? So that is sort of a subtle color thing that advertisers use. But I'm glad a couple of you picked up on the bigger thing that they're trying to get you to understand is if you eat pistachios, this brand of pistachios, or any brand really, you could look like this gentleman, right? So when you see this ad, and a few of you picked up on it, you're thinking healthy lifestyle. So pistachios equal healthy, right? And if I eat enough of them, maybe I will be like this guy. But what do we think the reality is? So Indu has her hand up. Indu, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't raise my hand this time.
Oh, okay, no problem. So what do we, so obviously the reality is that, if you want to have a body like that and a healthy lifestyle, you have to do more than eat pistachios, right? Okay, so let's take a look at a second one. What is being sold here? And again, you can chat or you can speak up.
Mascara.
Mascara, right. That is the obvious thing. But what are we also getting from this ad?
Youth.
From any beauty ad, what are we getting from beauty ads in general?
Youth and beauty.
Youth and beauty. So makeup is going to make us younger and beautiful. And when you look at Zendaya here in this ad and this cover, actually, like what's going on with her face? Like, does this look like everyone else's face? Does it look like all of our faces? What's different? Do you know? Yes, I saw Kim mouth it. Yes, it's been airbrushed, which means that the picture that was taken of her has actually been cleaned up to look like there's no flaws on her face. Now, if you met her in person, depending on if she has makeup on or not, you may see that she does have flaws, just like all of us, right? But the idea here is that if you buy this particular mascara, that you're going to look younger and hipper, like Zendaya, and you're going to have a flawless face, and on and on. But the reality is it's mascara. It's one product in a group of products. And they're also, you know, through ads like this, they're also getting at your self-esteem.
How are you?
Yes. And let's, you know, they're also trying to get at your self-esteem and say that, you know, you'll look better if you use this product. Let's look at a third and final one together.
Okay. Oh, that's
And let's, just a reminder, yeah, to mute yourself if you're not participating. Thank you. So let's look at this one. What are they selling here? And I did this on purpose because it's back to school time. So.
We've got 2 crayons in the chat.
All right. Yeah, so great, exactly. Crayons are the obvious thing that they're selling, which we have all met a Crayola crayon in our lifetime, I think. What else? What's the underlying message here, though, about buying this particular brand of crayons for your children?
We have also had in the chat being a good parent and accomplishment.
Yes. Okay, great. Those are great observations. So, right. So you don't see any parents in this ad, right? So it's not as obvious as some of the other ones, but this is, you know, your kid could be anything if you buy these crayons, right? You're being a great parent and you're giving them the tools that they need to be successful and be creative, which are not wrong, right? Any sort of marker, crayon, art supply is giving children a chance to be creative, or whoever the user is. It could be us, you know, adult coloring is a thing right now. So, but it's sending a message that if you want to be a good parent, then you'll buy the top brand crayons, right? But if you can't afford the top brand crayons and you buy a box of crayons that are just plain crayons, right? That like the dollar store sells them. Does it make you, it shouldn't, but does it make you feel less than, right? Like maybe I'm not doing the best job for my children. And that's sort of the psyche that they get into, which is why some of these ads can end up becoming dangerous and actually cause you to spend a lot more money on things than what you needed to. And that's why we're together today. So good job on those. I wanted to just do a few of them because I actually, when I do this session in person, I usually pass out magazines, right? And say like, find me a really interesting ad. And it's interesting what people find in different magazines and want to share. And it really gets you thinking about, okay, well, what else are they trying to tell me, right? All right, so let's take a break for a minute from all of those desires. We'll get back to them in a minute. And let's talk about keeping up with the Joneses. All right, who's heard that saying? Just like raise your hand if you've heard that saying, right? Hopefully everyone's heard that saying. I know my parents growing up, my parents were divorced, but you know, they definitely said, we're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Like, why do you want everything that your friends have and that type of thing? Especially if you have a teenager in the house, which I do. It's a struggle. But it's through these ads that we're taught, you know, through types of fancy ads for luxury products or even, you know, fear. So we're talking about the desire of fear, things like home security systems are appealing to the fear, right? So usually they have like a guy who's peeking through your window or whatever, really scary scenario. And it makes you want to buy that product because you don't want that to happen to your house, right? So when we see things like that, it makes us feel like we need to keep up with our neighbors. If our neighbors all have a ring, you know, on their phone, or if they all have a certain type of thing, we want to keep up with them. That's what the idea behind keeping up with the Joneses is. But what happens to the Joneses when we buy what the Joneses have, and what happens to the Joneses? Anybody? I'll give you a hint. Well, I'll just tell you. The Joneses get something new and exciting, and then you're still behind, right? So you can't actually always win if you're trying to keep up with the Joneses or someone else, because they're always doing something else. So there's always going to be people in your life that have more, than you. There will always be people in your life that have less than you. That doesn't mean that you need to spend money to keep up with the people that have more. Don't buy things that you can't afford just for that reason. All right, let's go on. Spending habits. Now we're going to get into some of the spending habits and the ways that people buy. Let me pause for a minute and ask if anyone has questions about what we've talked about so far. Okay, not seeing any. All right, great. All right, so spending habits, obviously the word habit means something that we do, a lot over and over again. But, we actually make hundreds of choices every day. Everything from what we're going to wear, what time we're going to wake up, if we're going to get out of the bed in the morning, what we have to do, what choices we're going to make, who we're going to email, who we're going to call. And so sometimes your brain gets overloaded and it just wants to make easy choices. And that's where habits come into play, where it's like, okay, I've done this every day. I'm just going to do it again, right? I'm going to get coffee every morning, or I'm going to pack my lunch a certain way every day. It's just, it's just habit. That's where that comes from. But there are, habits that are good and bad. So let's think for a minute, take a minute and think about any habits that you have that are related to spending, any spending habit that you have. Some examples might be, if you're at the store checking out and you see gum and, like every week you get some more gum, right? Or every day at a certain time you have to buy a drink, or every time you get gas, you buy something from the gas station. Do any of you have any spending habits you'd like to share?
I buy a lottery ticket every day.
Okay, great. So Kim buys a lottery ticket every day. That was great. Thank you for sharing. So that's definitely a spending habit. I actually don't know how much lottery tickets cost these days. But that is something, that can add up. We'll talk about it in a minute because it's a good and a bad, right? So there's reasons why we make decisions about the habits. I'll say that I go to Chick-fil-A for breakfast, like probably 3 days a week. Is that an expensive habit? Yeah, pretty much. But I also don't eat lunch a lot of days, like today. So in my head, I try to justify it. But then at the end of a couple of weeks, I'm like, how much money did I just spend at Chick-fil-A? It was a lot of money, right? So one thing I want to get you to do, or get you in the habit of, pun intended, is thinking about what you think is actually a real habit, or something that you really need versus something that you perceive that you need. So let me give you an example. We all have a need for food, right? It's a basic need. It's just like shelter, water, food is one of those basic needs. But have you ever heard someone say, like, I need to go to Dario? That's what my kid said the other day. I need to go to Dario. Or Burger King or someplace like that. So that's a perceived need. The actual need is food, which is fine. But the perceived need that you need to get it from a certain place every time is not real, right? So I want you to think about some of those when you are going through what your habits are. And I'm sure you're thinking about that right now. Maybe habits that you have that you didn't want to share, which I understand. And so think a little bit about that to help you, save a little towards your financial goals. What could you cut or reduce from your habits? Could you, for example, bring in your lunch to work, would help me. If I actually brought my breakfast to work, that would help me. Can you cut back on how often you go to the hair salon, or, are there, things that you could do that are habits that you could cut back on? Not saying that the lottery ticket should be one of those, because exactly, a lot of people that actually play the lottery, all it takes is one win, right? And then you're set for a long time, if not life. So this is about what you think that you could do, and it's individual to each of you. It's not a collective judgment, like you should be doing this, you should be doing that. It's what you think in your life works best for you. Let's talk about impulse buying. Transition for a minute. So impulse buying, does everybody know what impulse buying is? Anyone? We're going to learn a little bit more about it today. All right. So you go to the store. I'm sure you've done this. We go to the store and we need one thing, right? And it's, go to Walmart and I need milk. Okay. And then you go to check out at Walmart, and sometimes instead of milk, you have a black t-shirt and those Crayola crayons and some cereal and something else. And then you get through the line and you say, oh, the one thing I needed was milk and I didn't get it, right? And sometimes you have milk on your list and you do buy the milk, but you buy these other things also. So that's what we're talking about, impulse buying. It is exciting. It's like finding something unexpected, and I fall for it a lot because it makes me feel like I'm a detective, right? Like I found a good deal on something, which goes along with bargain hunting, which we'll talk about in a minute. And this is a reason why when you go to check out, there's so many things at the register, right? So it used to just be candy and gum, but now they have everything, the batteries, toothbrush, there's all this stuff there that they're trying to get you to buy. And it's because the longer that you're in the store, the more likely you are to buy something. So sometimes, you've been at the store and you're like, why aren't there more people helping check out, right? This line is like super long. Sometimes that's actually by design because they know that you'll spend more if you stay in the store. So malls, as I mentioned, are designed to keep you there spending money, and there's sales everywhere. And so being a more focused shopper, when you actually go to the store and writing a list down and making some examples writing a list and making some samples of what you need to get will also help you. Also, while you're at places like the mall, avoid taking free samples or trying things on just because then it increases the likelihood that you will purchase something. And so about the clothes, don't try the clothes on, and don't talk to salespeople are two of the points on here, because they always try to sell you something. That's true, but it's hard to avoid, right? Most stores, as soon as you walk in, someone's ready to greet you right away. And one last point on the impulse buying is shop alone if you can, which is very difficult when you have young children. But if you have young children, then you know exactly what impulse buying is. And it's when they're grabbing your pants like, hey, look at this thing over here. They have a little car. You will always buy something extra for your children if they are with you. So shopping alone allows you to create that focus that you need to really get through the store and get out quickly. And one thing that I heard an idea of the other day was, you could try to time yourself. I know it sounds crazy, but I know my husband and a lot of men that I know, they don't want to spend any time in the mall, right? So they're like, all right, I need this one thing, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to go right to the section and purchase it. And I'm not going to try it on. I'm just going to go with it. And so trying to time yourself and how quickly you can get in and out of a store with your purchase might be a fun exercise to do. Any questions so far about habits or impulse buying? All right. Next is bargain hunting, which again, I was just mentioning, I'm a big fan of. People love to buy things on sale. It's not just me and you, it's everyone. Research shows us that people love sales and they like to tell others about their finds, and it makes them feel accomplished. Like, I've done something, I've helped my friends get a really good deal on something. Looking for sales is a great way to cut costs, but only if it's things you were already going to buy. So you aren't really saving money if you're buying something that you didn't need, even if it's at great discount. So I'll give you an example to play that out. Let's say that a TV is $500. I don't know what kind of TV, but that's my example. A TV is $500. Your initial thought, you see a sign and it says it's 75% off, right? And so that makes it a great deal. You're like, whoa, like this TV is crazy cheap now. But if you didn't need a TV, then how much money are you really spending that you didn't need to spend, right? So even though it's a $75 discount, you're still spending 25% of the regular cost on something you didn't even need to buy. And so think about, was it in my budget this week? Is this something that my family or myself really needed? Can I afford it? Even though it's a great discount and it's something that I want versus a need, can I actually afford it? When you're tempted to buy sale items, ask yourself first, about the cost and the savings. So the cost long-term to you might be taking away some funds that you would use for a goal down the road. The best bargain, let me see if my little thing comes up. The best bargain is to not buy something that's on sale that you didn't need, right? A good deal, it's still an impulse buy. It makes it a bad deal. So, all right, retail therapy. Now we're getting into the last two types of spending that are a little bit less fun. They're a little less fun. So retail therapy, many people go to shop, and that can be mall, or it can be grocery store, or it could be anywhere. It could be online when they're depressed, or when they're feeling sad, or maybe not at their best. Because shopping, the actual act of shopping, increases levels, the chemicals actually in our brain that regulate happiness. And so it's equivalent to if you were to exercise or do something really fun with your family. So it gives you a boost of chemicals that make you feel really good, but then there's always that down part. So if you're already feeling down and then you go shopping and you buy a few things, which I've done this, I actually did this recently. I caught myself buying a few things, and then I got home and I thought, why did I buy those things? And now I just feel worse, right? I feel guilty for buying those things when I didn't need them. But in the moment, I felt really good about it. So when you're down or when you're feeling blue, instead do something that makes you happy that doesn't cost money. Sometimes you might feel down about your finances, and then that's quite a circle that you get into. Is I feel down about money, so I'm going to go out and I'm just going to look, but then you find a great deal, you end up buying something, and then it feeds right into that circle of feeling bad again about your finances. So instead, when you're down, think about some things that you could do that to cheer yourself up, like watch a movie or call a friend, those types of things, instead of going out and actually being tempted by some of these advertising tactics that we've talked about today. All right, money as love, which is a personal one for me. You've probably heard stories about, a parent buying a toy for a child because, he or she missed the child's recital or the child's big soccer game, right? A husband might spend some money on a necklace for his wife that she didn't need and that he didn't need to buy. Maybe he felt guilty that he didn't do something, or that they had a fight, that type of thing. A woman might give money to her sister who needs money, but the woman herself is having trouble paying her own bills. So these are examples of how love and money are interconnected for a lot of people. My mother has a personality disorder, and she shows love by buying it. Like, I can't remember a recent time where she's told me that she loves me, but she gives me things, that she wants, not things that I would actually want, right? So she's spending a lot of money on me, and it's a challenge when you grew up that way to stop yourself and say, okay, I'm not going to run out and buy my child something. I'm just instead going to say, I'm sorry, right, that I didn't make it to whatever. So that's an example. And I will say, last time I taught this class in person, there was a lady in my class who made good money, and she had like $100,000 job and house, but she was losing her house. And it was because, it was going up for foreclosure, because she was giving money to everyone in her family so that they wouldn't lose their houses. All of her children, and she was going under, and she was really the only person working. And so she came to Truliant over in Winston-Salem, and she sat down with some people that actually helped her work through that. But that happens more often than you would think. Is, you know, you loan a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there, or you buy gifts, and then you're under where your comfort level is. So think about that. You know, it's totally fine to buy gifts for people when they're just gifts, right? When it's a birthday and, you know, you want to do that. But when you're buying things for people in exchange for maybe admitting your feelings about what's really going on, or maybe you're avoiding that difficult conversation with someone, or, you know, that type of thing, then that is not good. It's not good for you personally, but it's also not good for your wallet when that's the way that you're choosing to show your feelings for people. If you do give money to your friends and family members, recognize that it might harm you to loan other people money, and be honest with yourself about that, and incorporate that into your budget, right? That's what you're doing. But also think about this: who is going to help you, or who can you turn to for help when you are in need of help? Will it be the people that you loaned the money to, or the people that you bought the gifts for? And that's just something to keep in mind. All right, we're going to finish up in just a few minutes. Let's talk real quick about spending versus saving. So all of these things that we talked about today, they go into the category of instant gratification, right? Whether it's an impulse buy or bargain hunting or buying a gift for someone, this is an instant feeling that we have, that where we feel like we need to buy this, and we buy it. But when we do that, the saving is delayed, right? And so if you have $100 in your pocket today, you could either spend it on a fancy meal tonight, or you could save it. What would most people do? So a couple of you said save it. I see you. I see you savers. But most people would actually spend it on the meal because they think that's a great, great bonding with your family, etc. But then what happens tomorrow? You still need money, right? To do whatever it is that you need to do. And so paying yourself first is one of the most important things that you can do. You'll hear it repeated in most classes that we offer at Truliant. Even if it's $1 a week or $1 a paycheck, you'll be surprised at how often money can build up when you're not touching it and when you're setting it aside. And so, one thing you could do is put a picture of a goal that you have on your fridge or a mirror, bathroom mirror, someplace that you look all the time, to keep reminding yourself of what you're actually working for, right? What are you working towards? And if whatever you're about to buy doesn't help you get to this goal, then maybe you'll think twice. That'll give you a chance to pause and think twice about it. Credit. And this is not a presentation on credit today, but we're just going to scratch the surface with people that are impulse buying or get really excited about good deals. A lot of times they will buy it on credit. And, credit is a way for you to buy something and not have to pay for it until later, obviously. But it can get you in trouble when you have some of these spending habits that we've talked about. So using cash or even your debit card that ties directly to your checking account are good ways to help you spend within your means, because then you can actually see what you're spending. And think about your purchases. Here's some questions to ask yourself when you get ready to make the purchase next, those red tennis shoes, or the other things that people bought earlier this week. Will you really use this product or service? Why are you buying this? Do I already own anything like this? And y'all, that is a serious thing at my house. My husband just bought another thing of ranch at the grocery store, and we already have 2 big things of ranch from Sam's Club in the fridge. And I don't know, we don't need 3 things of ranch. So this is the thing that you have to think through. Do we already own something that is this already? Did I feel a need to buy this before I saw it in the store? So did I walk in today and say, I need a black t-shirt, and then I saw this black t-shirt and that met my need? Or did I see a red shirt and talk myself into the red shirt? How am I going to feel later about this purchase? So that goes back to the guilt, right? And what the ultimate goal is that you're trying to achieve. And if this purchase is going to take you closer to that goal. Can I get it less somewhere else? Which, you know, advertising and bargain hunting is not a bad thing if you're really looking for something that you actually need or strongly want to meet that need. And is there anything more important that I should be saving for before you make those impulse purchases? Now we're going to add it up. What is something that you've spent money on this week or recently now that now you wish that you had not? Does anyone want to share? Can you think of something that you spent money on that now now that you've been through this presentation, you wish that maybe you had saved it for something else? Kim?
Well, not that I regret it too much, but I did find a great deal on Jelly Belly jelly beans.
Those are good.
Because now I'm eating them, but that's the only reason. But it was a good deal.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that's fine. And sometimes you can regret the purchases. Sometimes you don't. You just are like, did I need that? Right. But I get it. Jelly beans are amazing. Those type in particular. So I completely understand. I actually, quick side note, I actually bought a car last week and then returned it because it was at CarMax, which you can totally do. But it didn't have all the features that I said I had wanted when I sought out the car. And then I talked myself into it when I was driving it, like test driving it. I bought it. And then when I got it home, I was like, what am I doing? It doesn't have everything I said I needed on the car. And so then I returned it. And that was a regret. Like I was, you know, I didn't make a good decision. So then I am still looking for what I want, right? That meets everything that I said that I needed. All right, so finally, before we wrap up today, we're going to talk about some leaks. We call them spending leaks. And I just want to point these out because they have to do with the way that we spend money and sometimes when we make some questionable decisions about how we spend money. So slow and steady drips are when you do 50 cents here. Yeah, this was only 50 cents, so I bought it, right? Now, you know, $10 or $1 here, whatever. And then when you add it all up over a month, you've spent $30, right? And that's how many meals eating out or how many meals you could cook at home that you've just spent on here and there little bits. So we call that slow and steady drips. Laziness penalties, which is something in the finance world, that's not official lingo that we use, but this is basically all the little late fees or the extra fees, right? So going back to the days when you would turn in a library book and you would get charged if it was a couple of days late, to if you pay a bill late, if you use the ATM too many times at a big bank where they limit you on how many times you can use it, parking tickets, right? Where we're lazy a lot of times where I'm going to park here, I'm in risk getting a ticket versus parking in the parking lot where I was supposed to park. So anything like that where really it was truly just a decision that you made that is adding up, right? That's what laziness penalties is. Needless things. So magazine subscriptions that just auto renew is a really good example of this. I don't know how many of you have those, but you know, anything that's auto renewing that you haven't reevaluated whether or not you need it, it's a great time to do that and actually do the work to cancel it, right? Because you'll take that money and you'll put it right in savings would be a great idea because you didn't even notice that you've been spending it. Membership to a gym would fit in here if you're not actually going to the gym. Those types of things are needless things. Careless fines. So this is like speeding tickets, right? Not the parking tickets, but speeding tickets where, again, you just like in your head thought, I'll just do it this one time. And then you know, watch out. Then you get a ticket and lawyer's fees and whatever else when you have a speeding ticket. Replacing lost sunglasses that you don't know where they are, and then you know you open a drawer and they're right there on top, right? Fixing a computer that you spilled water on, which is the worst. Dropping your phone, you know, having to get a new one. These are things like that. Pity purchases, which ties directly in with the feeling sad, right? Buying things just to cheer you up. Like one of my stepdaughter, she will go out and get ice cream when she's feeling down. She'll drive, she'll take the gas to drive to, I don't know, a cookout or somewhere to get a milkshake, buy the milkshake, come back. And I'm like, we could have just added vanilla ice cream to the list, the grocery list. But, it's those types of things. And then those impulse buys, which we've talked about so much today. It didn't, something that didn't work or didn't last, you found it a lot cheaper. You got home and realized you already had one, like the ranch. But who goes through the work of really returning it? So think about those things and do the work, right? So if you already have one at home, turn around and return that bottle of ranch or a black t-shirt or something that you already had. All right. So to wrap up, Kate, at the beginning of the class today, the workshop, she put into the chat the handout, right, that actually goes along with the presentation. And in that, there's a couple of things I wanted you to look at. Page 6 is actually the evaluation where you can take a short, it's very short little exercise to see which answers you're gravitating towards in terms of how you're spending your money. But there's also a budgeting sheet in there where you can actually, or tracking sheet, where you can actually track things that you're spending money on. It's a real good tool if you want to see, if you feel like money's disappearing, but I don't know where it's going, that's a really good tool that you can use that's in that handout. I want to give time for questions today, but I do want to just point you to the fact that the Women's Resource Center, obviously in Alamance County, and I believe in Chapel Hill as well, but these are the locations that we have in Alamance County that Truliant has. We have a huge branch on Alamance Road in Burlington, one on University Drive, I believe, in Elon, and then one in Mebane right off of I-40/85, and Graham, our newest location for the whole credit union, opened in June, is on Main Street in Graham. So if you are in the market or looking for a new financial institution or one that can help you save money, give us a shout and we're happy to help. All right, any questions or comments about today's presentation or workshop? Did anybody learn anything? Raise your hand if you learned something that you didn't know today. Okay, a couple. Okay, great. All right. Well, so nice to be with you today and to teach a little, or just share a little bit about why people are spending the way that they are and what advertisers are trying to get us to do and what impulse buying is and all the fun things that are tied up with money. That it's not just money. There's a lot of different emotions that people have around money. One of the things I tell my high school students when we're talking about money is that parents would rather, this is statistically proven, parents would rather talk about the birds and the bees with their children than they would money. Money is just very personal and emotional for a lot of people. And I think now you can see why there's usually a lot of things tied up in money. So I appreciate your time today so much. I hope that you found what we talked about interesting. And I'd love to see you back again at another one of these workshops.
Thank you so much, Renee. We really appreciate your time today. Did anyone have any last minute questions or comments they wanted to chime in with before we end for today? You're getting a lot of compliments in the chat box, Renee.
Oh, I see it now. I couldn't see the chat during the presentation.
Well, we appreciate each and every one of you for joining us today, and we will be doing another workshop again in October. That information should be coming out in the not too distant future, and I hope to see some of these same faces then. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon. I'll be in touch.
Okay, sounds good, Kate. Thank you so much.
Bye.